Each February, the racing community turns its attention to the Daytona International Speedway and the dawn of another thrilling season of wheel-to-wheel, door-to-door, and bruising bumper-to-bumper action. From the grueling Rolex 24 to the daring Daytona 500, this is just the beginning. In the months ahead, the endless search for speed will take race driver and race fan on a swift ride around the world, a journey that measures the heart of the man and the heartbeat of his machine. And while the language is often different, the words are always the same. The goal is always to win. So now prepare yourself for the ride of a lifetime, because the toughest tracks, the best mechanics, and the greatest racers are ready to share the excitement, the emotion, the challenge, and the frustration of the 1997 season. And each day, every race team is going to be asking themselves two important questions. Which way to victory lane, and what time is RPM tonight?
Less than 30 hours ago, this was the scene at the Daytona International Speedway as the IMSA teams packed it up and headed home following the Rolex 24 Hours endurance race. All except the winning car of Rob Dyson have vacated the premises. Now things are quiet as we prepare to welcome these stock cars for their version of Speed Weeks 97. Hello, everyone. I'm John Kernan, and we are live from the infield at the Daytona International Speedway as RPM Tonight, the weekday version, returns for its second season. And from now until November 21st, RPM Tonight is on the air 7 nights a week. Monday through Saturdays, look for us at 7 p.m. Eastern. On Sundays, you can usually find us at noon and 8 p.m., but be sure to check your local listings in case the schedule changes, but only temporarily. The NASCAR Winston Cup teams haven't been on the track for competition since last November. The past month, they've been busy testing their cars in preparation for the season-opening Daytona 500. As always seems to be the case, testing produced some surprises. On just the third day of the new year, Winston Cup cars were on the track at Daytona. Ford's got things started with 11 teams in the garage. And setting the pace immediately was the defending Daytona 500 champion.
I remember those last 11 days we spent down here in Daytona in February, and it's the most memorable 11 days that I'm sure that I'll ever remember, and I'm really looking forward. I mean, coming down here now to the first test and unloading the car, running well, I'm just excited and ready for the green flag to drop.
On day 3 of the test, it was a rather unfamiliar name at the top of the charts. For Daytona, that is. Rusty Wallace, with an assist from Buddy Baker, became the first driver of 1997 to break 188 miles an hour.
My bad luck at Daytona Talladega, it's out of here. It's turned around. And now we got some good power, got some good guys here. I haven't lost any crew members. All the guys are here. And I'm going to tell you, man, we're focused. We're going to kick some ass this year. We're ready to go.
On January 6th, the GM teams rolled in. Robbie Gordon surprised everyone by setting the pace, just ahead of more expected company, Jeff Gordon and Terry Labonte. The headlines and headaches didn't come from the track, but instead from the inspection line. 2 75-pound weights are now hung on the rear of the car. Then the rear deck lid heights are measured, allowing only 3/8 of an inch of play. The kicker, the shocks must be disconnected for the inspection. The result, stiffer rear springs, slightly slower speeds, and mixed reviews.
Some of the other crew chiefs, along with myself, are getting pretty concerned about us when we roll through the gate. They're going to issue us 4 springs and shocks, and then guys like us won't be able to pay our mortgage. So, I don't know, taking a lot of fun out of it.
By the time testing wrapped up on January 22nd, it was a couple of usual suspects posting top times. Sterling Marlin and Dale Earnhardt both hit the mid-188-mile-per-hour mark. But at the top of the list for the second year in a row was the 98 Cale Yarborough Ford. John Andretti posted a lap of 189.458 miles an hour, 8/10 ahead of Marlin.
And I think that last year they realized that they won winter testing, and then they just missed getting the pole by a couple hundredths. So we're trying to do both, and hopefully we can get the pole for the Daytona 500. I mean, there's no sense in running fast and being fourth, because you still got to run the 125. So I'd like to be on that front row, and especially the inside of it.
As you check out the top 6 speeds of winter testing here at the Daytona International Speedway, it's interesting to note that Ford and Chevy split it up evenly. One other note, Greg Sachs posted his fast lap in a Rainier Walsh Ford. Robbie Gordon heads up to second, 6th, a lap of 188.135 miles an hour. That was somewhat surprising, as was Steve Grissom's 11th fastest lap. Bill Weber now joins us, and Bill has spent much of the winter paying attention to what's going on at the shops as well as down here at the Speedway. But Bill, you know, we always come down here and everybody says you got to throw those test speeds right out the window.
Well, John, I think testing speeds are a lot like those fuel mileage numbers you see on a new car sticker. Always very impressive, but never quite the same once the car pulls out of the shop. Now, there were some encouraging speeds. As we heard from Rusty, he did test well. Now he needs to run well at Daytona and Talladega if he hopes to seriously challenge for the championship. On the flip side, the Roush teams appeared to struggle during testing. They did not qualify well for the 500 a year ago, but they did finish with 3 cars in the top 7. And then there's John Andretti.
He's my dark horse pick for this year because, John, that team is always fast. And also, John led the Daytona 500 last year. And who knows what would have happened after that halfway point whenever they had that miscue in the pits and he lost a lap and then crashed trying to make it up. I think John Andretti could be a factor not only in qualifying but also in the race.
And he's just one of the changes as well.
Exactly.
And that's why RPM Tonight is here 2 days earlier than last year, so our crack staff of professionals can start learning new faces, new colors, and new combinations, hoping to click in the new season.
When a Winston Cup team makes a major change, it's always a major gamble. The right combination of driver, sponsor, and team can mean hitting the jackpot. The wrong combination, you're busted. Let's start at the beginning. Car number 1, Rick Mast, right? Wrong. Morgan Shepherd now pilots the Pontiac, vacating Butch Mock's number 75, which is now driven by, who else? Rick Mast. No driver change in the black 3 car, but there is a change at crew chief. Again, Larry McReynolds joins the Intimidator. So who's with Ernie? It's Mark Reno, which gets us back to that whole gambling thing. Richard Childress is gambling on a second horse in his stable, driven by truck master Mike Skinner and sponsored by Lowe's. That means Brett Bodine's 11 car will now carry the colors of Frontier Communications. The 1997 Team Sabco garage is getting a bit crowded, not to mention confusing. Kyle Petty left the 42 car to own the 44 car, sponsored by Hot Wheels. That put IndyCar veteran Robbie Gordon in the 42 car, right? Wrong. Gordon's Coors car is number 40, and new teammate Wally Dullenbach is in the 46 car to run at least 15 races. That's ironic because he left the 15 car to get there. So who's in the 42? Joe Nemechek and Burger King, right? Wrong. It's Nemechek, but with Bell South. So where's Burger King? With Earnhardt as an associate sponsor. Let me know if I'm going too fast. In case you forgot, Tony Glover also joined Sabco late last season to crew chief for Gordon. Glover's replacement at Morgan McClure, Tim Brewer, who has 53 wins as a crew chief. But can he gamble?
If you're playing cards with him and you're down your last $5, he's going to get it from you.
The biggest game of musical chairs actually started in the middle of last season. Steve Grissom vacated the 29 car. Robert Presley then left the 33 for the 29. Ken Schrader left the 25 for the 33. Then Ricky Craven left the 41 for the 25. So who took the 41? Steve Grissom, right? Right. Chad Little and David Green have arrived from the Busch Series along with a 20 car of Vernier Walsh. And 2 new teams will be bringing the food. Derek Cope's number 36 Skittles Pontiac and Mike Wallace's number 91 team sponsored by Spam. So, what did Lake Speed do with all that leftover Spam? The guys from the University of Nebraska ate it all.
And of course, Lake Speed will carry the colors of the University of Nebraska in 1997.
Well, one car coming down here looking to put some colors on it for this year is the number 15 Ford Thunderbird of Bud Moore. I talked to Greg Moore this afternoon. They've got Larry Pearson in the car right now, no sponsorship. However, Greg says that by the time the Daytona 500 rolls around, they might have a sponsorship deal in place to run Larry in that car the rest of the year. Second race of the year at Rockingham. Larry has already tested there. It's a 50-50 shot that Larry will start Bud Moore's Ford at Rockingham, even without sponsorship. So that's good news for someone who's been around NASCAR as long as Bud Moore has. But what about Bobby Allison?
Well, Bobby Allison will surely be down here during Speed Weeks, but he will not be bringing his team. He told our staff in January that he's going to take a year off, regroup, and hope to be back in 1998. We wish him the best. I still think with all the changes, though, the strongest combination should be Earnhardt and McReynolds.
A lot of changes, and we're going to need, new scorecards for the starting lineups. That's where you're going to see the biggest change, isn't it?
I think so, because there are a lot of new teams coming down. You know, the Charlotte Motor Motor Speedway does a good job behind the scenes of promoting the sport. And during their annual media tour in January, we took the opportunity to focus on new teams. Now, these aren't teams with 1 or 2 changes. These are new units hoping to make a strong run in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series in 1997. Now, you don't want to be judgmental or generalize the first week in February, but you have to believe these guys are going to have the toughest road in 1997, not only winning races, but even trying to qualify. So beginning Tuesday on RPM Tonight, a 2-part series looking at the new teams and what should be a very competitive and very exciting 1997 season.
All right, we look forward to it, Bill, and look forward to working with you all throughout Speed Weeks and the rest of the year.
Have a great year, John.
All right, thanks a lot, Bill. Later on RPM Tonight, spring training is wrapped up for CART, and last year's super team looks super once again this season. Plus, we look back at the unlikely group of heroes in this past weekend's Rolex 24.
RPM Tonight is brought to you by Pennzoil Motor Oil, first to fully achieve the tougher 1997 GF2 performance standard.
If you're coming to Daytona in the near future, you can already see the winning car of this past weekend's Rolex 24. Just hours after taking the checkered flag, Rob Dyson's car was moved from Victory Lane to Daytona, USA, just outside Turn 4 here at the Speedway. The Dyson team's winning efforts in the 24-hour endurance race stole the spotlight away from the lightning-fast Ferraris, and that once again proves in racing the unexpected happens more often than not. This was the moment Rob Dyson had dreamed of ever since he won his first race in 1974, a regional B sedan class event.
The Daytona 24-hour is one of the biggest major races in the world. You know, a hat trick is winning Indianapolis, Daytona 500, Daytona 24-hour, and Le Mans. Not very many drivers have done it. And I'm proud to be able to have won at least one on the leg.
Dyson's team came into Daytona hoping for a win, but not with the car that took the checkers first. After the primary car broke, the team put all of its efforts into its second car, a car that was originally assigned to running a very conservative race with the goal of just completing the 24 hours. During the course of such a long event, there are always surprises. And for the Dyson team, a surprise encounter with a Ferrari almost cost them the race with only 4 hours to go.
Well, I saw him starting to spin, and I thought he was just going to go off the track backwards. And as we were racing them for second place, I really wanted to be ahead of them. So I was trying to hustle him a bit. And when I saw we were going to hit, if you try and jump on the brakes or steer too much, you always join in. So I just pushed the throttle down harder, and when we all met in the middle, I sort of bounced off him, and the steering was slightly off, but it didn't hurt the handling at all.
23 hours into the event, the team hoped to relax and coast to victory lane, but that wasn't to be.
With about an hour to go, the dash completely went out. It's an electronic dash, so it had no readings at all, and we were running a high temperature, so we were trying to monitor that the whole time. So that was a big worry. And then about 10 minutes later, the engine just started making horrible noises and seriously down on power. And it really just sounded like it was about to blow at any moment. 15 or 10 minutes left, I started to think, okay, maybe we could coast home from here.
Butch Leitzinger visited Victory Lane at Daytona 3 years ago, but he watched the end from the sidelines. This time, he was behind the wheel when the checkers fell.
That was pretty great. I'd never done that before. I won here in '94 with Nissan. But that, I didn't even drive the last 4 or 5 hours, so it was kind of a numb feeling. But this one, and the way that we wanted, nursing at home and against the odds, it felt really made for a very emotion-filled parade lap.
Rob Dyson started racing back in 1974 as a driver. He has 62 career IMSA starts, 3 wins, and 5 podium appearances. But his trip to Victory Lane on Sunday here at Daytona was his first in the World Sports Car Division. Of course, the goal here at Daytona this past weekend was to keep the car together for a full 24 hours. Out west of Pomona, California, the goal centered around successful runs of less than 10 seconds as the NHRA kicked off its 97 season. Joe Amato in the far lane, Gary Scelzi in the near lane, and the top fuel final both go up in a cloud of smoke. It's Scelzi who continues to stand on it, nursing the car to his first NHRA win, but it took nearly 8 seconds to do it.
I'll tell you, you know what, just pinched me because this is incredible. The fans were just outstanding. They were going nuts. The crew, I mean, what a deal. What can I say? This is just wonderful.
I realize this is just the first event of the 22 this season, but let's check out the points anyway. Selzy has a 2-point lead over Amato. The defending Top Fuel champ holds down third place. The Force continues to be strong in funny cars. John taking on Al Hoffman in Force makes quick work of this one, getting the jump and winning with an ET of 4.958 seconds, a top speed of 287.26 miles an hour.
Austin Coyle, Bernie Federley, and John Medlin, these guys, Tony, we've all worked together, and we're just really excited. But to start off at Pomona, you know you're getting older, but Coyle, he don't slow down a bit, and I ain't slowed down yet, so we're having a lot of fun, and Castle's happy, everybody's happy, nothing left with Budweiser.
Forrest starts the new year off the same way he finished last year, on top of the point standings. His teammate Tony Pendergrass holds down the third spot by 3 points over Richard Hartman. A great showdown in the Pro Stock Finals. It was Johnson & Johnson, Warren on the right, Kurt on the left. Warren inches out the victory. This one close all the way. And the question with 2 weeks off, is there enough time for Warren to play?
Playing? What's that? Sounds like a social disease to me. No, we're going to be testing cars and whatever it takes to try keep this momentum that we've got going.
Warren leads Kurt by 43 points in the standings. One other note, Warren, a new Pro Stock elapsed time record over the weekend, 6.927 seconds. Then in the standings, it's last year's champ, followed by Mark Powick and Troy Coughlin. Coming up next on RPM tonight, Jimmy Vasser rolls through spring training, and the defending CART PPG Cup champ looks to repeat in 97.
It was good that we were able to win the championship, and that was, you know, that's our goal again this year. And anything less than that, you know, it's just going to be a disappointment.
Spring training for the CART PPG Cup teams wrapped up Saturday down at Homestead. Defending series champ Jimmy Vasser and Rookie of the Year Alex Zanardi led the way. A total of 28 cars took part in spring training this year. CART opens its 97 season the first weekend of March at Homestead. And covering the CART series for us this year is Marlo Klain. And Marlo, it appears to me, with all those cars down there at Homestead, a lot more teams took advantage of that spring training than they did last year.
Oh, absolutely, John. 2 teams really needed the time on the track. Newman Haas switched to the Swift chassis this year. Michael Andretti and Christian Fittipaldi first tested their American-made chassis just a few weeks ago in Phoenix. Patrick Racing, this year also known as Brahma Sports Team, is going with 2 drivers, Raul Boisel and Scott Pruitt. A couple of weeks ago, the team made a late switch from Lola's to Renard's. Those 2 teams were impressive, but they were not as quick as last year's fastest. Who else? Chip Ganassi's team. Once again, his team appears to be right on target. Chip Ganassi entered 1996 with a new package for his team and 2 drivers whose combined win total in IndyCar was 0. At the end of the year, Ganassi had 7 wins, the PPG Cup champion Jimmy Vasser, and the Rookie of the Year Alex Zanardi. With this much sudden success, the question for 1997 is, what can they do for an encore?
It's certainly in this series to repeat is difficult. I'm not saying we can't do it. We have the driver ability. We have the technical ability. I hope we didn't read too many of our clippings over the winter.
It was good that we were able to win the championship, and that was, you know, that's our goal again this year. And anything less than that, you know, it's just going to be a disappointment.
1997 is already off to the same kind of start as 96. Jimmy Vasser posted the fastest time at spring training in Homestead, just like 96. Zanardi was just a tick behind most of the way. Early indications are that the Honda Renard Firestone package will again be the one to beat.
The Honda, very pessimistically speaking, you have to say that it may not be a plus, but for sure it's not going to be a weak point. The Rainer chassis, again, is not going to be a weak point, and you can clearly say the same thing for the Firestone tires.
Like any team at the top of the heat, Ganassi is finding that their rivals are quick to embrace their formula for success. Last year, they were one of the few teams to do extensive winter testing. This year, they won't have that same advantage.
All the teams have been doing really a lot of tests, so all the cars are really well prepared, and I expect to see a lot of strong guys straight from the first race.
Vasser started 96 on a tear, winning 4 of the first 6 races. By comparison, he fell into a slump in the second half. He didn't visit the top of the podium again, but consistency was the key. Vasser is the only PPG Cup champion to complete every race. That still didn't stop some of his critics from saying he backed into the championship.
Might be a little sour grapes, but that's all right with me.
Zanardi's season was the reverse of Vasser's. starting slow, then rebounding to start on the front row for a record-tying 8 races in a row. Still, his team has assigned him special duties to make sure his feet stay firmly on the ground.
And every morning I have to wait to make between 30 and 50 cappuccino and serve all the cappuccinos to all the boys. So it's a hard work.
By the way, John, if Zanardi starts in the front row at Homestead, he will break his tie with Bobby Ray Hall and Bobby Unser.
Some pretty good company. Thanks a lot, Marlo. Look forward to working with you all year long. When we come back this weekend, Speed Shots. All the action that's guaranteed not to put you to sleep while your friends do some weird things to your face. Monday afternoon, the IROC cars rolled off the haulers and into their garage stalls here at Daytona. IROC practice opens on Wednesday. The race is next Friday with 12 of the best drivers in the world in the field. You know, a lot can happen in a 24-hour race, both on and off the track. Well, we kick off our 1997 season of Speed Shots with a look back at the highlights of the Rolex 24. Some of the things you might not have already seen. And we do it in just over a minute.
It's going good. Good. Asked me in about 15 hours.
It'll be a long day. 24 hours and 18 minutes.
How many
It'll
hours
all be over.
Brings his car to the finish to win the 1997 Rolex 24 at Daytona.
It'll take me a while to get over this one. What a show.
Almost time to zoom on out of here. We'll put the finishing touches on our first RPM Tonight from Daytona right after this. Tuesday on RPM Tonight, two-time Daytona 500 winner Dale Jarrett tells us the secret to winning the big race. A lot of new faces in the Winston Cup Series this year. We'll check them all out. And after a disappointing 96 team, Penske has reloaded and is ready to hunt in 97, Tuesday night, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Not only are we here every night, but just about any time cars are on the track, ESPN2 will have live coverage. Wednesday and Thursday, you can check out ARC and IROC practice right here on The Deuce. A little over a week ago, Tony Stewart experienced the downside of racing when he encountered problems after dominating the IRL event at Walt Disney World. On Sunday, he was back on top, winning the USAC National Midget Race at the Skull Bandit Racing Copper World Classic. And we are out of time for now, but we will see you back here again Tuesday night. Dr. Jerry Punch is going to be joining us, so we will see you then. Good night, everybody.